Hi, I'm Samuel Johnson, and in reading the employee evaluation and the employee potential articles, uh, I don't completely agree with the employee evaluation one. I feel like that one's a little rough-hearted on the idea of having the review. But in terms of them relating, I feel that a employee evaluation isn't an awful idea to let your employees know, especially the ones with potential, that you see them that way, that you can kind of give them a heads up in a way where it's being fair to everybody, where all the answers are kind of in the same sort of pattern. So, and you give it to them. And what I would hope would be on disclosure, I mean, a non-disclosed basis, to the employees and to the boss, so that it's not giving it out to anybody else. And that way, you're not putting a target on anybody who's just doing awful, or anybody that is doing just terrific. That way, nobody is pointed out. So I see why an evaluation would help bring out the stars, the ones you see as main potential, because it lets them know what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong. But I see that kind of as a bad thing, because you don't completely see that as how you compare with everyone else, just to know if you are a big potential employee. So I would think maybe they could do an average testing so people know where they stand. And I know the evaluation was hated on because it seems like it wasn't given enough credit when it's done. It's kind of done less like lazy-like, and I see that because when in the job I have now, I didn't do a review from my boss to me. It was a self-review of how I see myself doing right now, and the goals I've made and the things I can improve on and all. And in doing that, I mean, everybody there, even my boss, when she gave it to me, was like made it seem like, yeah, it's just one of those things we have to do, and so it wasn't taken very seriously. And on top of that, when you're doing that self-review, you're not going to put down something that makes you look bad. You're really almost trying to make yourself look good, but the whole purpose is to shadow yourself so that you can see how you compare. So it's really that I see kind of as waste, and then I'm trying to compare that to a review from the boss to the employee, and I can see that as being a nuisance in a way, and being probably kind of hurtful. And if there are some biased opinions from the employer, they'll probably not want to put such bad things on it, because then it'll be directly related back to the employee that they like. So I can see why it's bad, but I see why it's good if it's done right. And I think if it's done right, it can be very helpful. So, but the way that I would like to see an employer show the employee that it really thinks has potential in a way, I think it should just kind of do a side gesture, not some grand thing, just kind of like pull them aside and be like, hey, I like what you've done, and just talk it out, and just kind of give them that thought, be like, okay, they noticed that, they realized that I did something good, and if I keep doing that, maybe I'll have more opportunities, more improvements. So, but that's another problem. If there's so many employees, it'd be such a hard thing to do. That's why I see people doing evaluation. So I would prefer if my boss were to just kind of tell me in a small prospectus, that be like, hey, I could use you to take like a leadership position, or say, hey, Alex, you're doing, please keep up the good work. We're just letting you know that we notice you, something like that. And then for employees that aren't doing as well, just call them in and let them know. I mean, it's business. I don't see why it has to be too protected. you need to be upfront, and I feel like the main thing that a company needs is communication. So that's my review.